Joining us for more on tonight's topic is Dr. Roger Daring, the Executive Director of the Florida High School Athletic Association. And Roger, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Let's tell folks how this all came up. It started with a high school in Lakeland that was using illegal transfers in their football program, and then what happened?
Well, once we investigated, there was an accusation from another school that these 5 student athletes were falsifying their addresses in order to gain eligibility at a particular high school. So that other school hired a private investigator, gave the report to us. So we looked into it and found that it was valid. The students weren't living where they were claimed to be living. So those students were declared to be ineligible for a year, and then all games where those student athletes participated had to be forfeit. And then while we were there, we found out that 6 students had done the same thing at that school the year before. So we look at the current year and the one previous year. We don't go back any further than that.
And that left a lot of unhappy parents who went to their state senator, and ever since then, Senator Kelly Stargell from Lakeland, year after year, has filed legislation that eventually passed that basically, what you say is creating a free agent system in high school athletics.
Well, I've talked to Senator Stargell a number of times, as you might imagine. I've met her in Tallahassee. I've met her in her office in Polk County. And this brought to light to her what she saw as a roadblock for students and parents to have open choice for enrollment for any reason, whether it's for the band program, the Latin club, or for athletics. And she felt that the parents and students need to have an open right to go wherever they wanted to go.
And one could understand that line of thinking. On the other hand, you have situations where, you know, a football team plays another team that is stacked with players, ringers, you might say, from around the state, and they lose 80-0. And is it fair to those kids and those parents to be pummeled by another team of all-stars?
You know, no, it's not fair. And so, you know, it brings you back to the old saying you used to have about Bear Bryant. You know, Bear Bryant was a coach that said that he could take his and beat yours, and take yours and beat his. But now you can have yours and his'n to beat, you know, yours. So it's tough on ideas of loyalty. It's tough on ideas of students who live in a particular neighborhood school area, who start as a freshman in athletics, continue on, and of course, you know, by the time they're seniors, they expect to be starters or players, and all of a sudden somebody comes in from another county or somewhere else in the state or from another school across the county and bumps their starting role. And it's tough to comprehend. I mean, as a former educator for 39 years, we're here for the education and prepare young men and young women for post-secondary education or the world of work or the military. And so this creates an unnecessary focus and emphasis on athletics instead of academics, where it should be.
Is there any precedence for this around the country?
Nowhere. You know, there are 51 state associations, including Washington, D.C. All of them keep an eye on Florida. You know, they're concerned because that trend, if it were to start in other states, would be a tremendous blow to public education and the right to participate and compete where your neighborhood is. And so they're afraid that this opens up what everyone has termed high school free agency, which is just not appropriate at that age.
You know, there is a line of thought, and a lot of the motivations of these parents is get their kids into high-profile programs where they'll be seen by college coaches and maybe recruited to Division I schools. That's every kid's dream and many parents' dreams. Does that really happen? Does it really work that way?
It does not. I will tell you that the national average right now is 2.5% of the students who participate in extracurricular activities, athletics in high school, go on to a Division I college participating in that sport on a scholarship. In Florida, it's about 3.5%, but then let's take that a step further. Once that 3.5% from high school gets to college, starts participating in D1 sports, it's less than 1% of that go on to make a career out of an athletic endeavor. So, you know, you've got less than 1% of 3.5%. I mean, it's just a tremendous odd that, you know, some parents try to jockey the system in order to get what they think will be an educational scholarship for their child, when in fact is not going to be any beneficial for that child once they get out of school.
There's another aspect of this, and that is illegal recruiting by high school coaches. And they were restricted by what they could do because of the transfer situation. How does this new law change the ability of your organization to monitor whether or not coaches are illegally recruiting?
Well, you know, that's one of the good things about this law that was passed, because for the first time now, the state legislature has really recognized that recruiting is a problem and it is detrimental to our young children. It's usury of our kids. And so this law puts some teeth into how to handle recruiting. If it's a public school employee or a contractor, they have a $5,000 withhold of their salary if it's recruiting is proved. On the second offense, it's another $5,000 in suspension, and on the third, it's another $5,000 in potential losing of the certificate. So, and also, back where the first bill was passed in 2011, said it had to be clear and convincing evidence, which I've been telling everybody that's the same level of proof we have to convict someone of murder. They've now lessened that to preponderance of evidence, or greater weight of the evidence.
But how difficult is that investigation now, because the transfer itself is no longer illegal?
Well, the transfer is not illegal. The question is, how did the transfer take place? So we feel pretty confident. In other words, if a parent and child duly request and then get accepted at another school and it happens on above board, but if we find out there's prior contact from that coach, or he's visiting the home, he or she is visiting the home, or there's something that takes place where parents of other student athletes at that school are contacting this child's parents to come over. You know, we've got a great catcher, we've got a great shortstop, we need a good pitcher. How about you coming to pitch for us? So we'll be able to investigate to see if those types of things happen. So I don't think that the new eligibility rule is going to decrease our ability to prove recruiting, because if recruiting takes place, somebody's going to tell, and we'll find out about it.
But on a practical basis, while this debate has taken place over the last couple of years, what were the number of investigations you would do every year before, and how many investigations are you actually doing now?
Interesting question. Before the bill was passed in 2011, we probably did 6 or 7 investigations a year, where we actually sent out paid investigators to look into the situation, talk to witnesses, gather information, and so forth. Since 2011, when the bill was passed, it had to be clear and convincing evidence. We've done 3 investigations in those 5 years. So the number of investigations has drastically decreased, because that level of proof is almost insurmountable. Now, with the preponderance of evidence, we think that, you know, if we get 2 or 3 people that will testify, you know, that the recruiting did take place, then, you know, we can find convincing reason to charge that school or that individual for recruiting.
And we only have about 30 seconds left, but how much pressure have you been under? Because what has been clear is there are a lot of state legislators that have been going after the Florida High School Athletic Association.
Well, there's been a lot of pressure, but I will tell you that I think where everybody loses sight is that the FHSAA, the Florida High School Athletic Association, is not that office in Gainesville. It's 800 member schools whose coaches, men and women who are there charged with, you know, instructing our children, our young student athletes. They all want the rules to be fair. They want to have a level playing field, and they want to teach character and sportsmanship to our kids. That's the FHSAA.
Dr. Daring, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.